Right. Hey, thanks again for the continued support, showing up, and giving me your energy and attention as I share my thoughts and the messages. And it means a lot to me. I appreciate it. And today I wanted to share a thought that I had, and I like to think of it as a download from the universe, to be honest. Some would call it an intuition or even some simply as a thought, right? But whatever you want to categorize it as, I wanted to share it with you. But quickly, a little information on my history and who I am is I've been an artist my entire life, both a martial artist and a fine artist. But ever since I was a kid, I was always drawing and creating and painting and things like that. And that creativity, that artistry carried over into the digital medium, and so I'm doing logo design and things like that these days. But before that, my big dream back when I was, before high school and even a little bit into high school, my big dream was to be an animation artist, with some company at the time. The biggest company at the time was Disney. They had pretty much just come out with Toy Story, the first movie, and that movie really changed the scenery for animation films. They weren't so 2D anymore. Now there's a 3D world that they were able to create, and it was just very revolutionary, and that really caught my eye, and I wanted to do that kind of stuff, and I knew I would have to work my way into it, of course, and be a storyboard artist or something like that. But unfortunately, that never happened. That's a whole nother conversation about why it didn't happen. But because of that, I love to watch animation films as an adult, and I don't have kids. I have nieces and nephews, and I certainly watch animation films with them when I get a chance, but I watch them on my own just because I love the art. I love people's interpretation of their ideas and put onto screen, and I just think it's really cool. It satisfies me as an artist to see other people creating things and impacting lives initially. And I wanted to share something that came up for me that actually did impact my life and also solidified ideas that I have in my life as well, reinforced the ideas that I have for my life. And I was watching, and this is going to be some spoilers, so if you have not seen the movie, or maybe you don't care, but I'm gonna have to spoil the plot in order to tell you the ideas that I got downloaded from the universe as lessons from this film. So about a week ago, I watched the DC animation film. I think it's called Legion of Super Pets. Ooh, maybe you can hear that. It's storming and thundering outside. Probably not the best time to record a podcast, but hey, the elements need their time as well. But anyway, I think it's called Legion of Super Pets, right? It's about Krypto, Superman's dog, and the struggles that him and Superman go through. And as I was watching this movie, about halfway through this movie, I started thinking about how what these characters are going through parallel the exact same things that we go through as characters in our lives with our relationships. And essentially, Krypto, Superman's dog, who he's had his whole entire life, has the same kind of powers as Superman does. And they've been best friends for forever, obviously. And Superman is at the point in his story where he meets Lois and they're going to get married. And Krypto doesn't understand. He thinks that they should be man and best friend, man and dog, best friends forever, right? And he's unaware of how to share a relationship with Superman while he's creating a new part of his life with Lois. And it causes some trauma in him. And he acts out and causes him to have just some negative relations with Superman. And Superman also doesn't understand, well, one, because he's a dog, and they don't communicate in English like some cartoons do, some animation films. But essentially, Krypto, in his turmoil, relationship turmoil with Superman, he meets some other dogs, some other pets, and these other pets are in an adoption center, and they each one of those pets have also had their traumas that have caused them to be in this place together, this confinement, this confined space that they don't feel comfortable in anymore, right? And that confined space represents the buildup that we have in ourselves. And so these three or four pets share this space, and they escape together. They escape the adoption center together because it's a really toxic, negative place. Nobody likes it. And they escape together, and each one of those pets, like I said, has gone through their own trauma that has caused them to be in that place, that negative place they don't like. And so now they broke out together. Each one of those pets sees the other one's gift, but that pet doesn't see their own gift. And it takes those other people, takes those other pets to help them realize their gift, right? And help them heal their trauma and help them be comfortable with themselves again. And the same thing is going on in Krypto as well, right? He's having his own trauma, and he doesn't know how to handle it until he meets these other people, these other pets that help him realize that this is how you deal with this trauma that you're going through, not only by yourself and with healthy conversation, but also with other people who support you and are your friends and that love you. And essentially they give Krypto the authorization, essentially, to let him know it's okay to tell Superman his feelings and have a conversation and let that discovery happen instead of just holding it up and bottling it in, right? And Krypto also does that for the other pets too. He helps them find their gifts, and he brings them together, and they create a group, and they essentially become the Legion of Super Pets, the title of the movie. And I got to thinking that since the whole movie, just like every movie, right, you start telling the story, then there's the build-up, then there's a climax, and then there's the resolution. Well, that script, that format of a story, of a movie, of a book, or whatever it is essentially in this movie, Legion of Super Pets, represents the conversation that Krypto is having with Superman from start to finish, from uncomfortable to resolved. And the same thing, the representation of, because also some of the Justice League is in there, right? Batman, Flash, Wonder Woman, right? And we all know a lot of their backstories, right? And their trauma. So they're going through the same stuff as humans, as superheroes. And they all get captured, right? The pets have to come together and rescue the Justice League. They couldn't have done that singularly, right? They had to pair up. They had to get together and self-actualize together and realize their gifts in order to overcome these things, right? And so that whole story, that whole format of the story is essentially, like I said, the conversation, how the conversation goes, right? It's very difficult to have, meaningful conversations with people you care about, especially when it's around things that are, emotionally charge you, and not letting yourself fly off the handle to where you create, more conflict and more trauma because of that, because you're not dealing properly with how you're feeling, right? And so then I got to thinking, why do these movies, not even just this one, just all movies, I'm sure you've watched a movie where you felt like, wow, that really hits home for me. I really have a feeling right now, right? It hits you right in the feels, as they say. And I was thinking, like, man, it's really, why do movies do that? Why do books do that? Why do these stories do that to us? And because then I started thinking about the people that write these films and write these scripts. They know something that we, as the viewer, also intuitively know, but we might not understand yet. And they figured it out, and they've, especially from an animation perspective, this movie that I'm talking about, they've figured out a way to quote unquote write it in crayon for us so that it's simply told to our emotions that these kinds of things, this is how things happen. Aliens might not invade the planet, and you might not have to overcome a war to create the resolution, but that type of stress happens like in a microcosm, right, in our hearts, and we have to overcome that properly. And that's the story that goes on inside of us. And so these writers understand this, and it's awesome to me to think that they have the depth to dig into, to bring this out for the viewers, like myself and like you, like everyone. And then I got to thinking, like, somebody out there in the film world understands how healthy relationships, conversations, how things get resolved properly. And they're giving it to us in all these movies. They're providing, instruction to us, but yet we still walk around, we still do it wrong. We're still not reading the book. We're still not reading between the lines to understand that those kinds of, movie relationships and resolutions are possible for us. And I know they're not going to happen exactly like they are in the movies, right? The movies end at the happy ending, right? And there's always going to be more after that. So it's not just one time, but that idea, that format is possible for us. We just have to be conscious about our efforts and how we go about our relationships with others and ourselves. And we have to study. Like, the people that wrote the scripts of these movies, they didn't just wake up and go, oh yeah, this is what it is. This is how we tell the story, and it's going to make this kind of sense. Like, no, I'm pretty sure a lot of those people have gotten together, had conversations based on their own history, and then also probably cinema history as well. But they've created that based on their history and their studies. So it just really blew my mind that the answers are right there in front of us, and the cinema world is disguising it as film and fantasy when it's really not. It's true to an extent, right? Like I said, Crypto's journey from start to finish, that created his trauma, he was able to resolve that. And how did he resolve it? By surrounding himself with people that made him a better dog, a better pet, allowed him to validate the fact that what he was feeling is okay, and that he needed to share it with Superman and with other people so he can move beyond it and come to a resolution with Superman. And as I was thinking about all this stuff, I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta capture this somehow, some way. So I made like a quick 8-minute video of myself talking, just to prove to myself and to other people in the world that I guess I just watch movies differently sometimes, and because those kinds of meanings are, they're pretty evident when you watch, live action films. But when you watch animation films, you kind of make the assumption that they're geared towards children. And yes, they are, but at the same time, there's underlying info for adults in there. And I feel like adults don't go into that movie thinking that there's something of value for them in the movie, and that it's only for the kids. And so I guess I encourage you, and also myself even more, to watch some animation films, watch some films that you don't think that you might learn any lessons from, and just be open-minded. Just suspend your disbelief for a few minutes, well, a few hours even, of course, and just try to soak up something and let something come to you, because that's kind of how I do it with movies. I don't pay attention to ratings and all that kind of stuff. If I feel like something interests me, I'm going to watch it. But anyway, that's kind of all I wanted to share. That download that I got from the universe that kind of told me a lesson about, okay, yep, we're going about this the right way. Keep at it, Justin. And I wanted to share it with you because, like I said, nothing's new under the sun. These thoughts are not mine. They're for everyone. They're accessible to everyone at any point. You just have to be tuned in. So I very much appreciate you tuning in and using your energy to help me create this moment, and hope you have a beautiful day.